Hi guys, welcome back to L.F.G. Okay, so we've touched on diet, exercise, meditation, and that's all great and all very important things in my opinion. But what if you're snowed in with debt and because of that you can't afford better food for a good diet, you can't afford a gym membership, you can't afford any supplements, you're unable to live a better life right now and it's crippling your vibration. Maybe you don't feel like meditating because you don't believe in any of that metaphysical airy-fairy crap. So you need something tangible, something you can work with right now, you can get stuck into so you can improve your situation. And let's bear in mind that the average person in the Western world is in thousands of pounds worth of debt. They don't have any savings. There's no plan for retirement. You can't afford it. And the average person is living paycheck to paycheck, to week basis, day to day in some cases. So guys, this is a big deal. We are clearly not living in the correct way. So I've put together this little episode today for people much like me. I'm actually debt free now, but everything I'm going to talk about in this episode I've used before or I still use. I mean, also, when I'm talking about people like me, I'm talking about a mediocre salary, £32,000 a year or less. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And I'm going to talk about how, it matters less about what you earn. It's really about what you can keep. I mean, obviously, some of the information in this episode is going to be different for different people, depending on your situation. You might be a student, and you get student loans and working part-time. You might be working full-time, completely fucking crippled with debt. You might be living at home with your parents. You might be a council tenant. You might be a tenant. You might have a mortgage, so it's going to vary on your situation. But I guarantee there's something in here for everybody that you would not class as rich right now. There's going to be something in here that you can benefit from for sure. So I've broken this episode down into 3 categories. The first one is how you should use debt. What debt should be used for. Okay, so some of these will seem quite obvious. I don't want to tell anybody how to suck an egg, but I'm trying to help the people who may not know this information. So what should debt be used for? Basically, debt should only be used to buy things that make you more money and when you're not the one paying back the interest. So on a smaller scale, this would be something like, let's just say you had a trading account and you traded stocks or Forex, and only if you were profitable on a consistent basis would I recommend this. But let's say you put £1,000 into your trading account to trade with. You use it for the month, you reach your profit targets, you take all the money back out, put the £1,000 back on your credit card, and you keep the profit that's left over. I mean, alternatively, if you had a profitable business elsewhere, even a physical business, you could use that credit to buy inventory and then put it back at the end of the month. But again, you'd have to be profitable to be able to really utilize that. On a larger scale, it's the same thing as getting a rent to buy mortgage. You're borrowing a big lump sum of money, but you're not paying it back. You're using it to buy a house. Multiple tenants or a single tenant or a family move into that house. They're paying back the mortgage and you're taking a few £100s left over at the end of every month. Also, another thing that you should use credit for is the stuff that you're gonna actually spend the cash on anyway, like petrol or food shopping. So what you would do is you would just use it as you would for petrol. Say you put 60 quid a week in your petrol, put that on a credit card. At the end of the week, pay it back onto the credit card with the money that you would have spent anyway. And what that will do is that will build your credit score really fast. I mean, especially if you're spending like us, we spend over like 160 quid now on food shopping every week. So that straight on your credit card and paying it back every week is going to really shoot your credit score up. So that's how I think debt should be used. You need a good credit score to maneuver through this world. It's just the way it is. Okay, so section 2, how to get out of negative debt quickly or quicker. Okay, basically some people call this paycheck parking. So I'm just going to give it a little example of what I mean by this. So basically, let's say you had £500 every week as your take-home wage, okay? £300 a week is your outgoings, and you have a credit card with £1,000 debt on it, credit card that you've maxed out. So what you would do is, instead of paying the minimum payments on your credit card, you would put all of your £500 wages onto the credit card, okay? And then you use the credit card to pay your 300 weekly expenses for the week, which would leave £200 left on the credit card. So instead of just paying a minimum payment every week, you just whacked 200 quid on there straight away. So going at that rate, again, this only works if you are spending less than you earn. You have to have a little bit of control. I mean, if you haven't, it's going to be very, very hard to do. But if you've been practicing some of the stuff we've already talked about, if you're on top of your fitness, your diet, and your other spiritual practices, and your goal setting, I'd like to think you've got a pretty good handle on yourself. Do you know what I mean? If you haven't, you better fucking learn, because it's going to be really fucking hard. So basically, you would then just keep repeating that process until your debt's clear. Now, you know, you could use that scenario again if you've got pretty good control over your spending habits. Most people aren't in just £1,000 worth of debt, they're in multiple thousands of pounds worth of debt. And if you use it just as I've suggested here, with this type of example, if you owed that much and had that much wages, etc., you'd be able to pay off 10 grand's worth of debt in 1 year, which is pretty good. And that's with a take-home salary of £26,000. So that's pretty powerful stuff. Okay, section 3, how to budget correctly. This is so simple. And as soon as I figured this out, life became so much easier. I didn't actually figure it out, that's a lie. Somebody showed me. Ever since, things have been a lot easier, I can tell you that. Basically, if you get paid weekly or bi-weekly, you need to try and utilize this as soon as possible. If you're in a bit of debt, it's going to be harder to use this, but not impossible depending on your minimum payments. Now, this first bit is optional and it's not completely necessary, but it's what I do, so I recommend it. Basically, you get an overdraft that is big enough to cover your whole monthly outgoings. Then you add up all of your monthly outgoings. So say, you know, your petrol, your food shopping, your council tax or whatever, phone bill, gym bill. And then you divide it into 4, which will give you that weekly payment for 1 week of your total month outgoings, okay? And then every week you put that figure into a separate account, open up on your banking app, a separate account, put all that money into that account, and you basically keep doing that for 4 weeks. Also, what you can do is you can change all of your payments, all of your payment dates to say the first of the month. This makes it easier so you haven't got loads of different things coming out interspersed throughout the month. Try and get all of your payments as close to the same date as you can. So then every month, all the payments will come out, say in the first 2 or 3 days of that month. And then you just take the money from that separate account and pay it back into your current account, which will then bring the overdraft account back to 0. And then you repeat the process all over again. Also, doing it this way with the overdraft account is another way of building your credit. So that's going to have its benefits later on down the line. You know, all of this stuff can really help boost your credit score. Another cool thing with this is, what I like to do, and what I still do now, so I definitely recommend it, is you open up separate pots, so basically separate current accounts on your banking app. As well as your monthly outgoings, you can have something for whatever, a holiday, a car, you know, date night, family days out, or just pairs of trainers, whatever you want. And what you'll find is it'll be a lot easier to set money aside, and it doesn't feel so laborious, and it's less of a ball ache saving up lots of money. Also, what you'll find with this is that not only will you never be late for paying a bill, which is another thing that's important for your credit score, also you'll find you'll have money to do more activities, and also you'll have cash spare as well. Okay guys, thanks for watching. I hope this information benefits some or all of you in some way, shape or form. Keep watching. I've still got some foundations and fundamentals videos still to come in a series. And guys, remember, it's your God-given right to be successful, and it is your responsibility to reach your full potential.